News.
Cities across the nation are expanding, and Arizona is leading the pack. See why Phoenix and Mesa are two of America's quickest growing cities. As part of our Access Across Arizona series, we're taking you to Nogales, where money smuggling is a pressing issue, and discover why banks are disappearing in the border town. And later, Arizona is one of the worst states in the country for child homelessness, but one Phoenix school is trying to change their futures for the better.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Megan Thompson. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're starting today in Washington, D.C., where Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton spoke today about growing cities in the valley and how Phoenix is leading by example. Reporter Brittany Bade joins us from our Washington bureau with that story. Brittany?
Arizona isn't always thought of as a trailblazing state. We're ranked low for important issues like education and child homelessness. But today, Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton stood proud as two Arizona cities were recognized for programs that are inspiring cities across the country to follow Arizona's lead.
They realize we're a city in transition and moving forward in the right direction.
Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton was among a handful of mayors invited to Politico's What Works Summit in Washington, D.C.
They realize that we're doing a lot of innovative things in the city of Phoenix. We're reinventing ourselves right before our very eyes.
Mayor Stanton is referring to Phoenix's
support for higher education. We're moving forward with transportation and so many other great things.
Mayor Stanton and other mayors here say they got ahead of other cities by learning from their mistakes.
In the city of Phoenix, we really learned that if we want to create the future that we need, the future that we want and need, we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and get it done ourselves.
The leading cities represented here all try to rely less on their state and national governments.
If you're relying on Washington, D.C. to become a great city, you're going to be waiting a really long time. You've got to really be much more self-sufficient if you want to be a leading city, and that's what Phoenix is doing.
Stanton says strong city leaders and creating a new, innovative economy is key to Phoenix's success.
We're going to be a competitive city moving forward in the future. There were some real steps that we need to take, and we're taking them.
Well-known cities like Milwaukee and Memphis are each developing systems similar to Phoenix's light rail in hopes to prove their own state's economy. Live in our nation's capital, Brittany Bade, Cronkite News.
Thanks for that, Brittany. And the mayor wasn't the only Arizona visitor in our nation's capital today. Many Native Americans made the journey from Arizona for the 6th annual Tribal Nations Conference hosted by the White House. Our reporter Justin McDuffie was there.
All 566 federally recognized tribes were invited to hear from the president and the vice president at the White House's 6th annual Tribal Nations Conference today to discuss issues affecting them.
Tribal nations do better when they make their own decisions. And for well over a century, you have not been able to make your own decisions nearly enough.
Tribal leaders said that this has improved under the Obama administration, and when those leaders hand off control, the leaders of the next generation say they are ready to step up.
36 young people were selected from across the nation to represent their tribe as a part of the White House Youth Ambassador Program, and at least one of them was from Arizona.
My name is Darius Jackson. I'm from Hill River.
He was nominated by his tribe for his leadership in the community and would like to tackle some big issues facing his community, including obesity, healthcare, and
youth suicide is an upcoming issue in my tribal nation.
Jackson said one of his main goals is to help curb the rate of American Indian youth suicide that is almost 2.5 times higher than the national rate.
This is my highlight of my life so far.
He will take back what he has learned from these government leaders and his fellow ambassadors to continue being a young leader to improve his community. In Washington, Justin McDuffie, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News brings you Access Across Arizona.
And now, continuing with our Access Across Arizona series, we're taking you to Santa Cruz County in one of the biggest border crossings in the nation, Nogales, Arizona. Reporter Samantha Davis is in Nogales now with that story. Samantha?
I'm in Nogales right now, just a few blocks from the U.S.-Mexico border. Every day, Mexicans spend millions of dollars in Arizona. But with some banks leaving the border region, it could make international commerce more challenging. 'Tis the season for spending money on holiday gifts, and the border town of Nogales is no exception. Thousands of people cross the international border every day to spend millions in Arizona before returning back to Mexico. Here in Nogales, one bank has closed its branch, but others remain open for business. There have been other banks closing in other border towns, and that concerns Senator John McCain.
We cannot deprive our citizens just because they live along the border with the same accessibility to capital and financing that other citizens do.
In letters addressed to Bank of America, Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo, the senator asked why they decided to close branches in Arizona's border communities. To Bank of America, he wrote, "In the last year, Bank of America has reportedly closed 2 branches in Nogales and no longer operates there. Those branch closures have resulted in higher transaction costs and substantial difficulties for local businesses." He continues to say that new regulations are in place. The goal of these regulatory efforts has been to target drug trafficking organizations and hinder money laundering across the border. While some politicians have concerns over banks closing locations in border towns like Nogales, others are not so worried.
This is just an inconvenience of not having it right by the border. And it could hurt a community. If you were to lose all the banks in Nogales, well, naturally it's going to hurt one way or another. But that's not going to happen.
Mayor Guarino says that if more banks pull out of Nogales, then they could have problems in the future with their agricultural industry and the maquiladora manufacturing industry. But he hasn't heard of any other banks leaving the area. However, some frequent travelers have found that closing banks means more difficulty getting cash.
On one hand, yes, because we are having trouble with using our cards and making transactions. That is what's affecting us citizens.
Senator John McCain said he had personal conversations with executives from some of these banks, encouraging them to continue to do business in the border region. We did receive a statement back from Bank of America concerning the sale of some of their branches, 2 of them in Nogales. They say, quote, "The decision to sell these locations to a community bank rather than closing them was made to preserve as many jobs as possible and ensure these communities will continue to be served with convenient local branches. So we view this as a way to save jobs and maintain a brick and mortar banking presence in these towns." Money smuggling across the border is a big concern for these banks, dealing with new regulations to crack down on it. As reporter Chase Golightly reports, there's been a steady increase at Arizona's 6 ports of entry.
We've seen it all from younger kids to older folks and family units.
In 2013, U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized nearly $6.5 million of currency from people illegally transporting money across the border.
People concealing the money on their person, hiding it on their bodies, hiding it throughout the cars, hiding it in various locations. We've seen in dish soap or in laundry detergents, dog food, things of that nature.
In October, CPB arrested a 19-year-old man who attempted to smuggle $240,000 into Mexico through the port in Nogales in his car. Officers selected the car for further inspection and found the money hidden beneath the trunk.
However, we do see some for narcotics smuggling proceeds. We also see some folks that are actually taking money back to their family members that have.
Araceli Ordóñez, a resident in Nogales, Arizona, travels to Mexico often to see her family and says that she has seen many vehicles get searched.
They take you to a different area where they have police dogs, and sometimes they run those through your car.
When crossing the border, people must fill out a form saying how much money they are traveling with if it is in excess of $10,000. If they don't fill out the form, that is when the money gets seized.
The $10,000 is just the amount that individuals need to declare when they're exiting or even coming into the U.S. So if they have, it's not illegal. You could even transport, $1 million, whatever, as long as it's being declared.
Serrano says that the process to fill out the form takes almost no time at all.
It's just a matter of filling out a form that would take maybe 2 minutes, if that.
But where does the money go after it's seized?
Once it is seized by Customs and Border Protection, it leaves our hands and it goes into the Treasury Department, who oversees it.
The Treasury Department then distributes the money to law enforcement agencies and operations in the U.S. With the holiday season coming up, CPB is expecting a high flow of traffic at the ports of entry, and Serrano says they are prepared.
Our officers are certainly out there trying to do their best to try to intercept the funds that are going into Mexico, especially if it's for illegal proceeds,
And then the number of currency seizures has increased 32% since 2012, and that number is only expected to increase even more for 2014. Serrano says that the 2014 report for money seizures will be released later this week. In Nogales, Chase Golightly, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Chase. And now we're checking in with Kayla Wall with a look at what's ahead.
Thanks, Megan. The holiday lights downtown on Central Avenue will be a little sparse this year. Find out why Phoenix fell short on funding this winter. And these bell ringers aren't just asking for donations, they're getting paid to do it. Stick around to see how bell ringing is employing the poor and disabled this holiday season.
Who were the people that got us from there?
A world without glass, clean drinking water, time, or light.
To here.
These were hobbyists, garage inventors, and obsessive tinkerers. These are people who actually made the modern world, who set off an amazing chain reaction of ideas.
It's the story of How We Got to Now with Stephen Johnson, coming in October, only on PBS.
Access Across Arizona allows us to travel to the 15 different counties in Arizona and find new, fresh voices and underreported stories.
It's been a great opportunity to travel to places we haven't been to before and talk to people we haven't heard from until now.
With our new technology, we're now able to deliver stories directly to you from across Arizona.
Live in Mojave County, reporting live from Prescott, live in Parker, Arizona.
Cronkite News brings you Access Across Arizona.
Welcome back. Holiday displays come and go, but one Phoenix tradition is continuing thanks to its community. Reporter Elle Johns tells us why community support is important when decorating some city streets. Elle?
Holiday decorations usually hang from the light poles on Central Avenue from Camelback to Baseline Roads. But this year, a lack of funding is causing some blocks to be left out of the tradition.
As soon as you see Christmas lights, we turn into kids again.
Driving down Central Avenue, you may notice those holiday decorations hanging from the light poles, candles, candy canes, and bells. This has become a Phoenix tradition, and for some, this means the holiday season has started.
We really can't have snow and bring on that sort of feeling of the holidays. So the Christmas lights are important for us.
The holiday lights aren't funded by the city, but rather by local businesses.
Phoenix has had sort of financial up and downs over the last few years, and it's fine. We don't mind contributing for it.
One of the things that I thought we were going to get is some pushback from the community, but on the contrary, people are always saying, God, we can have a choir come out here and sing Christmas carols, or we can bring some hot chocolate.
This year, there wasn't enough money raised to put decorations on every pole.
Because of the funding wasn't there, we had to actually have some blocks that weren't covered.
Central Avenue runs through several council districts, each one responsible for helping raise funds. One of the problems was the inexperience of some of the council members.
And we kind of dropped the ball in the other districts, and I think what happens is that it's the first time.
But for Peterson, the decision is easy.
Certainly we enjoy the lights themselves, and if it brings guests down here to see them or to drive this way down Central Avenue, then it's just beneficial for us.
And helping spread the spirit of the holidays.
The deadline has passed to contribute to this year's decorations, but the city is hoping that next year they'll raise enough money to have all of Central Avenue decorated. Live in downtown Phoenix, Elle Johns for Cronkite News.
If you're shopping for children's toys this holiday season, you might want to be aware of some hazards that come along with it. These hazards are in the form of noise. Officials at the Arizona Commission for Deaf and Hard of Hearing say that 1 in 5 children by the age of 12 has some hearing loss. Children's ears are the most sensitive from birth until age 3. They say toys should be below 85 decibels, but offer tips for those must-have toys that are a little louder.
If you really need to buy that toy, he said dead set he's got to have that drum set or whatever, then think about putting some tape over the speaker, or taking the batteries out, or limiting the time, or putting it on some of them do have a setting where you can decrease the sound, so do something like that.
Parents can download smartphone apps such as Decibel Meter to test noise levels while shopping. Now let's go over to Tana Hughes with a check of the weather. Tana?
We're going to take a look at our regional weather alerts right now, specifically up in California and Nevada. The National Weather Service put out watches and warnings for these two states, especially in Reno and San Francisco, for the amount of rain that they've been receiving. They're expecting to receive 3 inches from yesterday until tomorrow, and this is a lot, especially for California, who has been experiencing droughts for this past year. So what does that mean for us in Arizona? Well, we can tell the past couple of days we've seen a lot of cloud coverage here in the state. Yesterday we saw some rain in the Valley in cities such as Tempe and Scottsdale. Pretty light today, but we can expect some rain in the forecast this evening. Current temperatures in the state right now, 48 in Grand Canyon, 47 in Flagstaff, 53 in Prescott, and 77 in Tucson. And as we head down into our valley, temperatures currently 69 in Phoenix, 74 in Tempe, 73 in Scottsdale, and 68 in Mesa. And tonight you can expect a low of 58 degrees with mostly cloudy skies and some rain in your way. Now let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. Tomorrow a high of 74 degrees with a 40% chance of rain. Now Friday that kind of clears out, but Saturday we are expecting a 10% chance of rain too, and the rest of the week is supposed to be sunny. I'm Tana Hughes, Cronkite Weather.
Ringing bells for the Salvation Army is an annual holiday tradition. And as Sydney Schumann reports, for some bell ringers, this may be the only work they get all year.
The Salvation Army helps the less fortunate every year, and some of those underprivileged are the bell ringers themselves.
There's a lot of people out there that desire to work that can't get jobs for whatever reason, and we offer the seasonal opportunity to get out there and bell ring and get paid for it.
For people like John Banta, this is the only work he will get all year. Banta is on disability for muscular atrophy. During the holidays, he works full-time bell ringing, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
It's very hard, you know, when you walk into a place and you're disabled, and, you know, a lot of places, they don't want to take the time to invest in you and give you that chance.
We're very happy to open our arms to people that other people will not accept.
But this work is more than just a job for Banta, who prides himself on the fact that in his 8 years ringing the bell, he has been in the top 3 for profits every year.
Some bell ringers, John being one of them, look forward to this season all year. I mean, he's one of my first people who comes in to apply to be a bell ringer, and he spent the last 2 months growing that beard just for bell ringing.
Dan says about half of all of his bell ringers are in financial situations similar to Banta's, but this work provides more than just minimum wage.
It's a real blessing being able to come out and feel useful and to receive the extra money during the holidays. It makes me feel like I'm worthy, that I have a cause.
Banta and his fellow workers begin ringing their bells on Black Friday and finish on Christmas Eve. In Phoenix, Sydney Schumann, Cronkite News.
And now let's hand it over to Sierra Oshman with a look at what's coming up on Cronkite News.
Child homelessness can be seen all across the nation, but a recent study shows that the situation could be even worse for Arizona children. We take you to one school where teachers see this struggle in their classrooms every day. And later, with nearly 60 days until kickoff, downtown Phoenix is adding more displays to Super Bowl Central, all to help you count down to the big game. We show you what they revealed today.
How do we educate in a rapidly changing world?
How can we create a sustainable way of life?
How can we teach peace?
Arizona State University. Rise to the challenges before us.
The most recent Arizona Child Fertility reports shows that overall, childhood deaths were down. But as reporter Carrie Osip found out, there is one disturbing area where children's fatalities have increased. Yes, Sierra, the report shows that 38% of those deaths last year were likely preventable. And even though the total number of deaths has declined, the number due to negligence and child abuse has increased.
Child fatality reports are always a heartache.
And the 2013 report was no different. 811 children died in Arizona last year. That number is lower than 2012. But there was an 87% increase in deaths due to maltreatment over the last 6 years.
As a society, we need to create other ways that people can learn that.
One agency in particular brings awareness to this issue while also providing on-site help for struggling families.
We do a vast variety of programs specifically in the home to try to prevent child abuse and neglect and also to intervene where it has occurred.
There isn't one solution to stop child abuse, but many people can help.
Raising children is our collective responsibility.
But I think the only way it really gets fixed is by people becoming involved with other people.
There are many agencies around the valley helping to prevent child abuse, but at the end of the day, a strong family is what matters.
Governments make terrible parents. People make good parents.
The hope for Southwest Human Development is that every child will have a positive future.
And we need to care, and we need to say, enough is enough. We're not going to let children die in Arizona.
To report a suspected issue of child abuse, you can call 1-888-SOS-CHILD. For direct helpline with issues of children from birth to the age of 5, you can call 1-877-705-KIDS. And one agency where donations can be made to help fund prevention is swhd.org/give. And keep an eye on the very young. The highest risk age group for children is the age group of children under 5. Live in the Media Center, I'm Carrie Osep, Cronkite News.
Homelessness doesn't always mean sleeping on the streets. According to the National Center on Family Homelessness, 1 in every 30 American children face unstable living conditions. Reporter Annalise Ortiz explains how families in Arizona are affected by the issue much more in Arizona than in other states.
Most students at Children's First Academy in Phoenix live below the poverty line. And while most of them have a place to sleep at night, many of them are considered homeless.
Students that are hopping from couch to couch every night, going from family member to family member, they're considered homeless students. It doesn't mean that you have to be on the streets.
The problem goes beyond the doors of Children's First Academy. The National Center on Family Homelessness recently ranked Arizona among the worst states in terms of the extent and risk of child homelessness and child well-being.
The report states that the number of homeless children in America has been on the rise since the Great Recession, and Arizona families felt the effects of that economic downfall.
32 divided by 4. Arizona was one of the highest foreclosure rates, and so we saw those marginal income families actually losing their homes and becoming homeless for the very first time.
Diana Yazzie Devine has worked directly with homeless families for more than 30 years. She says she's seen Arizona take steps to curb the problem, but there are still uncertainties about the future.
In a state where our budget is still a concern, we have a turnover in our leadership and our elected political leadership, and gauging how much they really know about poverty and homelessness, will be our next effort.
And Children's First will continue to focus on making sure their students don't let the challenges of today get in the way of tomorrow.
What the past stays in the past, and I don't let it interfere in my future.
In Phoenix, Annalise Ortiz, Cronkite News.
Now back to Megan for what's next.
Thanks, Sierra. The Super Bowl is all the talk, but how can you get a ticket? We'll tell you where to look and how you might be able to snag a deal on the big game.
These extraordinary Americans all share one thing in common, a past they never knew until now.
It's incredible.
In his new season on PBS, Henry Louis Gates Jr. helps them uncover the truth about where they come from.
I can't believe these documents even exist.
Wow. Get to know them as they discover who they really are.
That's pretty amazing.
Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates Jr. starts Tuesday, September 23rd at 8, 7 Central, only on PBS.
Super Bowl Central is taking shape in downtown Phoenix. You may remember the first big reveal, a massive football, but wait, there's more. Today was the second big reveal, a countdown clock near First and Jefferson in downtown Phoenix. The clock is ticking away right now with the days, hours, minutes, and seconds until the kickoff of Super Bowl 49. And the second edition is far from the end to downtown's makeover.
We're definitely not done. The Super Bowl host committee's got a lot of tricks up their sleeve, and they're keeping us very busy. Working with the NFL and all their partners, this place is going to transform.
They were pretty tight-lipped. Cronkite News was able to get a hint out of him. The next edition has something to do with the building windows near Super Bowl Central, which is pretty cool. Check it out then. And as the countdown continues, you may be thinking, how can I get my hands on some Super Bowl tickets? As reporter Colton Krolak tells us, it depends on how lucky you are.
To some, buying tickets to the Super Bowl is easy.
I would watch NFL.com. They have Ticketmaster, which is the official ticket exchange, so tickets may be available there.
But expect a hefty price tag.
I would love to go to the Super Bowl, but again, it's very costly. I'm hearing $2,400 to $3,500 just for a ticket in the nosebleed section. So
local businesses such as Dad's Catering could have a solution. A raffle.
For each $500 you purchase through Dad's Catering, you receive being eligible to put in one ticket.
And even if you don't win, these types of contests help the community.
It's for local businesses. It's to promote the sale and the growth of local businesses here, small corporations, small business, to accelerate sales.
And he said he's already seeing the benefits.
We've had many contacts for Super Bowl parties and events.
Capitalizing on the big game for bigger business. In Phoenix, Colton Krolak, Cronkite News.
While searching for tickets, we found other raffles benefiting local charities and even restaurants hosting giveaways. So be on the lookout for your opportunity to head to the big game. Well, that's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us and have a great night.
Find top Arizona stories anytime at CronkiteNewsOnline.com.